We just arrived in Atlanta moments ago. We got into our hotel rooms quickly so we could be live on NYCFC Views. I know we're a little bit later than we originally wanted to start, even though we had a police escort to the hotel. We're important people, apparently. New York City, they're the most important people, the players. They've got Atlanta United tomorrow. We're going to review the match against Chicago and a whole lot more on a live NYCFC Views.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene el tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
I'm Glenn Crooks, Roberto Abramowitz. That's just half his head. Now we've got the full head. We are your New York City FC radio commentators. Roberto and I have been there since the first kick, so that's why we got so excited in 2021 when the New York City won MLS Cup. Things a lot better in 2024, Roberto, in very solid playoff position. And there's only 11 more games left in the regular season, which is
that's crazy.
That's remarkable, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Glenn. We have a technical issue that I think we've got to address here.
Okay.
Only because we may not be going out to anybody, and that is that we're not showing up on Twitter, which is our main source of people following us.
All right.
So what I suggest we do is that we go to YouTube and take that link and share that.
Okay.
So we're going to do this as we speak to you people, because, for the 2 or 3 of you who are with us right now and who will be with us, and let us see if we can get this.
Well, I need the.
Okay, we're definitely on YouTube, so that's good.
Well, I need the YouTube link, gang. Let's put it in the notes, please. Somebody. Thanks.
I'm gonna do that right now.
Cool.
And we're gonna get this done. Okay, so here, hold on one second. We're doing this is off the cuff, folks. So you're watching.
Well, that's the best
production
That's the best part of live. That's the best part of live.
That's what we love. You're getting to see the back, the back end of how this whole thing works. See, now I've shared this with you, Glenn.
Okay.
And you can go and do that. And I'm going to go and now try to share this on Twitter, and let's see if that's going to work. Because they don't like us.
Oh boy, yeah.
They don't like anybody anymore.
Well, this thing's not copying and pasting. I guess it is now. Boy, I got so much good stuff to share, man. I guess we'll just have to delay it here. All right. There, I got that. Hopefully that goes to here.
Okay, so I've shared it on Twitter now, so that's good. Let me see. Hopefully it came up. And so, we'll start a couple of minutes late, and so be it.
All right, hold on. I think I got it now. On live with NYCFC Views. Let's. I'm going to hashtag a few people. Bear with us, anybody that's actually listening and watching and all that other stuff that you do.
Yeah.
What's the last thing? Third Rail. I'm going to tag them.
Good.
They don't know. And then can only see on YouTube.
So far.
Not on Twitter. Give it a shot. Here we go. Okay.
All right. And the reason that this is all happening for everybody out there is that Elon Musk, in his effort to take everybody's money and all the money in the world, because he doesn't seem to have enough, has decided that on Twitter, or X as he likes to call it, you can only now broadcast live video if you're a premium subscriber. So we found this out the hard way on Saturday when we were trying to broadcast our pregame shows. from, where were we? Chicago, from Soldier Field, and we both got rejected. And so now the only way you can do that is through getting premium on Twitter. Glenn and I both sort of want to resist that, but it is what it is. So
Beyond
now we gotta go to
resist.
YouTube. Now we got to go to YouTube, and this might be our solution tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, it's beyond resist. I'm not doing it unless somebody sponsors. I don't want to do it anyway. It's more on principle. Like I said, yeah, I could afford it. I just don't want to do it. So that's
I get it.
That's it.
I
So
get it. Now we can talk soccer. Now I don't know how many people are watching, but
well, that's
not
okay.
Be the same amount, but now we can talk. Let's do the soccer.
I know, and we're going to replay it anyway on record, so it'll be okay. It'll be okay, everybody, and hopefully we'll have the premium on Twitter on SickPod NYCFC figured out by then too. So, well, first of all, this was it reminded me of my days at the University of Georgia when I used to cover the Bulldogs a long time ago. But when they went on a bus trip anywhere, whether it was from the airport to whatever, but to the hotel or from the game to the game or whatever it was, they had police escorts, and it was crazy. And I was like, I can't believe this. A college football team has a police escort. But that's the way it was. And here we are in Georgia again. So maybe that's a Georgia thing. But we got off the plane, hop on the buses as we normally do to get to the hotel. And you and Maddie Lawrence said, it's 40 minutes to the hotel. And we were wondering, wow, are we going to be
He
able
said
to...
37 to be exact.
So anyway, we get this police escort. We get here in like 20 minutes. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was pretty damn good because there was a lot of traffic coming. It's rush hour. So there was a lot of traffic coming out of downtown Atlanta and going into and whatever. So, but I kept hearing sirens and I was like, what's going on? And then I looked up into the front of the bus and I go, oh, we've got a police escort. No wonder we're flying through. Well, that's the second one we've had.
I sensed that my kids were skeptical when I sent it to them. So I sent them this picture just for proof. Anybody else that's skeptical, this is our these were our escorts. There they are, waving thumbs up. We had one behind us, guys on the side, in the front. It was like, well, I mean, we were protected.
It's very cool because they close off other access to other traffic to let us through. So now we wind up going through red lights and things like that.
Now
well, hopefully we didn't put anybody in danger. I don't think we did. So it was all good. We just got here in a hurry.
Well, that's the other side of this is like, sometimes I said it way back then when I was just a stupid kid. Now I'm a stupid adult. But it was like, man, what if somebody really needs to get by? What if there's an emergency or something? Hopefully.
Well, if there's an ambulance there, they're going to let the ambulance get through. So let's not get crazy.
Well, I'm going to get crazy. I mean, I think it's crazy to have a police escort, but I think it's great.
It's fine. I wish we had one in Chicago.
Yeah, that would
have made life a lot better. We would have maybe missed the thunderstorms.
All right, let's us. Chicago 0, New York City 0. Now, if you listen to my pregame briefing or the pregame interview, which will air tomorrow night, we're back on the East Coast, so 7:15 p.m. Eastern. On a Wednesday night, a bunch of games, including us against Atlanta United. But on the pregame show, the first thing I said to Nick is that it was one of the more uninteresting New York City matches I've ever broadcast. And I asked him if it was too harsh. I have to say he didn't disagree. Of course, he painted it a little brighter than I had said it. But man, and truth be told, one shot on goal for Chicago. New York City was credited with one shot on goal. I don't know what shot that was. Micha Ilinic hit the post, so that's not a shot. And Santi Rodriguez, I think they gave the shot on his free kick, which was about 3 or 4 yards wide of the left post, because the keeper dove and got a piece of it.
It's a corner kick.
So people were fooled into thinking that was a shot on goal. It was not. So New York City did not have a shot on goal, Roberto. And ironically, Atlanta United did not have a shot on goal in their last match. The loss to CF Montreal up at Stade Saputo. So we could have it could be a humdinger tomorrow night.
Those things never work out that way.
I'm having fun.
It could wind up being 4-3.
I'm having fun. And I
It,
hope
it could
no one,
wind up being 4-3. Yeah, I
no
mean,
one.
I'm looking at the stats here from the last game, and expected goals were about the same, 0.87 to 0.84 for New York. Total shots 11 to 8. Let's see what else. Fouls committed 13 by Chicago, 10 by New York.
Yeah, but
Nothing great.
go back to the expected goals for a minute. So that's another thing I brought up with Nick, and we're going to hear it.
184 for New York City, 187 for Chicago.
No, that's not true.
That's
0.84,
what
0.8. No,
that's what I said.
0.84.
Point.
It's zero. You said one.
Zero.
I don't. Okay.
I'm sorry. Did I make a mistake?
I don't know.
0.84.
I might have heard you wrong. Yeah,
I said 0.84 versus 0.87.
Okay. So
It's less
here's
than one.
Nick. Here is Nick. And Shane, help me out here. Put it in the notes. Did I send you the Nick who talked about expected goals with Micha Ilinic? I think when we kind of went over things, we didn't hear that one. Yeah, we have that one. Okay. So before you run it, Shane, so Micha Ilinic hit the post, right? Now, unless you remember something I don't, and I haven't watched the full game back, but a lot of it, that's the closest New York City came to a goal, right? I mean, they didn't come really near to scoring at any other moment in the game, correct? I mean,
No,
that's what I remember.
I agree. Yeah.
So his expected goals was 0.03. And Alonso Martinez's expected goals was 0.45. So I asked Nick Cushing about this. Ilinic's expected goals were 0.03. Alonso Martinez was 0.45, according to, again, FOTMob. Can you explain that to me? Because I don't recall Alonso Martinez coming close to scoring.
I think it's down to the goal chances, right? I think there's sort of opportunities, and we rank. We have our own data module, and that ranked the expected goals a little bit lower than FOTMob. So everyone does it differently. I think Micha Ilinic's is down to the angle of where it is and the body's in front. Alonso Martinez is maybe a second ball, second chance, something in there. Irrelevant of the small, the different numbers on each chance. For me, it's about offensive volume. If you can create a lot and consistently create a lot, you win more than you lose. You'll get those games like Austin where you don't execute and you get frustrated, but you get the games like Toronto where you score 3 away from home, and you score 3 away from home, you should win. So the disappointing part is when we don't create, when we're almost like a half a goal, 0.8. I want us to be over 1.5 with our offensive volume, because it shows that then we have a threat on the goal.
So that's your standard, really, when you look back. 1.5 and higher is what you would consider a good chance creation performance.
Yeah, I think if you're getting 1.5 goals, you're up there with being a very, very offensive team. You've got a real threat on the goal, and I think that is, for us, really important, right? We want to score more goals than we did last year. So for us, it's about pushing the players and setting a standard that is a high standard. Yeah, so I thought 1.5 or higher, and the coaching staff is satisfied. So at 0.8, and interestingly, at Austin, losing 2-1, New York City had over a 2 expected goals. So, that was one road game where they put a lot of pressure on. But Roberto, I guess the disturbing thing recently, or the thing to be concerned with, is that you've been shut out 3 times in your last 4 road games, New York City FC.
Yeah. I look at them, and I look at all those games individually, and not as a pattern, because it's not all the same players. But by the way, I just want to go back to the expected goals thing. Alonso Martinez was credited with a shot that hit the post in the 64th minute. I honestly don't remember it, but he was. That's why I guess he was close to Ilinic. Oh, you know what? No, you know what it is? I'm going to tell you what it is, because somebody put this up on Twitter, and credit to them. Apparently, Ilinic's shot just barely glanced off of Martinez. I think that's what it's going to. I think that's the minute. So that would be why the expected goals is awkward. So there you go. Similar. All right. So if the ball had gone in, Ilinic would have not scored. He would have been upset.
Well,
he would have been upset.
He's hit the post in consecutive games. So
let's go back, okay? Because not all games are the same. The 2 games that they got shut out on the road trip, which was LA, Nashville, New York City, was trying to get their two, who they thought were their starting strikers or their top strikers going.
Yep.
Right. And that's what they try to do with
Didn't matter.
Bakrar and Mijatovic.
They could have
And they
had
tried.
Olivier. They could have had Holland up top. I don't think it would have mattered in those games, but that's my personal assessment.
It might have been, but at the same time, they can make their own chances too. They don't have to wait for people to create chances for them. So they bottom line didn't work. They didn't play well and they didn't score. And it's not only on them, although, as I said, they can create their own chances, but it's a whole attack that didn't work. But the fact of the matter remains is that those guys were given absolutely every chance to take over and be like the guy. But they're not, because they keep on, not being able to score. Although Bakrar scored a fantastic goal in this game that sadly came off an offside play. But Alonso Martinez has been the most effective striker this team has had. And this time he started, and yes, not much happened, but Alonso Martinez is the guy. Not much the guy now.
Nothing happened, Roberto. Nothing happened. So, that's a slight exaggeration. 3 of the last 4 road games, you've been blanked. So you have your striker who has now started 4 consecutive games. We understand he's been the guy that's been most consistent, and and he's got some of that pace. Bakrar's got pace, but somehow Martinez seems to use it in a more beneficial fashion and getting in behind and getting chances when he races
more direct, isn't he?
Yep. But I think the 3 shutouts are very similar in that the chance creation was very, very limited. And that's the thing. And the word that Nick has been using the last several weeks is volume. So, and the volume if the volume is 0 to 10, the volume in the last 3 of the last 4 road games has been at about 1 or 2. So they need to crank up the AC/DC, man. You can only listen to that music loud. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. Well, they face a team in Atlanta that is a shambles in this moment, as they've sold their 2 best players in Georgios Giacomakis and Thiago Almada.
But the only reason I'm interrupting is that the injury report was just released by MLS and New York City FC. Tavon Gray, who we saw practice yesterday, he is out of this game. We know Malachi Jones is out. Kevin O'Toole is out again.
Right.
Andres Pereira, he's out, and he could be out for some time. There hasn't been an official announcement from the club, but you just get the feeling that that's going to be an extended injury. And then James Sands on yellow card suspension. So you're absolutely right. Atlanta they've lost some critical pieces to their own attacking puzzle, but New York City they're going to have to, and that's why when we got to the airport today, I thought we were going to a U.S. Open Cup game. There were so many NYCFC 2 players.
Yeah, I know. There's quite a few that have made the trip.
So
it's funny. So look, maybe we'll see a Maximo Carrizo make a debut or something. But we expect. Based on just the amount of players that are out and the players that are traveling, we expect McFarland to start again. And he had a really strong game. I really liked his game, and he got more and more confident as that game went on. So he made one really bad mistake and getting a yellow card, pushing somebody when they were with their back. When he had him cornered, and he had his back to the play, to the goal, and he's facing the sideline, and he winds up pushing him, and then he gives him a free kick when he was going to have a hard time getting the ball out of there and crossing. That's the type of thing that he's got to learn not to do. Aside from that,
listen, can I say something about?
He actually scored a goal.
Can I say something about that? Yes, it was a silly foul. I get crazed when people that, like you just said, when people say that's something he's going to have to learn. I don't get that. That is such an obvious look. I'm not being overly critical. He had a good game. I was very happy with his performance. I'm going to you saying that, he's going to have to learn. What do you have to learn, man? That's something that happens when you're 10 years old. 11. You don't give up fouls when you have somebody that's not in a danger position where you put the opponent in. It's silly. It's silly. It's unnecessary. And it doesn't take experience. It does not.
Trust me, it does not take experience to keep your head on straight in that moment. That's my opinion. I just there's
I
certain
see your
parts of the
point. I mean,
game
I absolutely see your point.
you
I do
just
see your
can't.
point.
It's just
But
you
I
can't
mean,
do it.
again, but yeah, you can't do it, but he did. Now he's got to learn not to do that.
All right, but he should know that. He should know that
He
already.
should know. He should have. He should have known that.
So here,
I agree.
with
But
all
you know,
these
we're going to
absences,
see Justin Hack again
well,
because
with all these absences in the midfield, it's
yeah,
now Hack time, right?
again. And the thing is that how valuable does he become all of a sudden? You know, there were games where he wasn't even in the 20, and now not only is he getting opportunities to play, he's playing in multiple positions and showing that he can play, showing his versatility, and showing well. And it's good, and this is why. In a team that's as deep as New York City is, and they are a deep team as far as that's concerned, you've got to always be ready. You've got to train hard and you've got to be ready because you never know when your number is going to get called. And he got called and he was ready.
Well,
And
here's
happy for him to be
you were
back and playing an important role.
Yep, you were in the room when I asked Nick Cushing about this, and the way I presented it is that this is the kind of thing where here's a kid, pretty much like Andres Jason, and you're going to hear Justin Hack in a minute from the press conference, talk about how he and Jason would get together because neither one of them were playing, and it's a very difficult time. But the value of a guy like this, you're right, Roberto. I mean, because he can play multiple positions. I put this clip up that you're going to see now, and I got a variety of feedback from it. Some saying it's very hard to watch Hack play, and others saying, yeah, he's really valuable. Look, I can tell you, as a coach, I would want a guy like this on my team because you can plug him in to any particular spot, but it's got to be midfield for this game.
Yeah.
Here's Nick Cushing from the pregame show.
Being a team, you don't want to lose a guy like that. I mean, this is that two-sided thing. You want what's best for the player. Justin Hack, he wants to play, so the possibility of a transfer is there. Yet, the value that he brings to you to be able to just hop in the back, hop wide, wherever it might be, it's tough to lose a guy like that.
I think it's the understanding it's for everybody, staff and players, the understanding of a team, right? Everybody wants to be the guy that plays every week, that gets all the numbers, but it doesn't work like that in a team. Everybody plays a part, and whether you're in or you're out, or you're off the bench, and one thing I say consistent to the team is in MLS, the schedule is so brutal. There's so many ups and downs that everybody's good moment is right around the corner. Everybody's opportunity is right around the corner, and you just got to make sure that you're ready.
There you go. And it's the truth, and it seems to pan out. And Nick has always been someone who has been never concerned about just putting Hack in, even though he hasn't played a lot of minutes. He's got a lot of faith in Hack. And I still remember him in the 22 season putting Hack in the middle of a back three in the playoffs at Montreal. And there were a couple of dicey moments during that game, but that was a huge moment for Hack to be able to just step in and perform back there in a playoff game. Now, you were also in the room with me and a couple of others at the weekly presser when Justin Hack was there. So a number of questions came up about him, accepting this role and how he gets by. So I've connected a few of his responses together in this clip, Roberto.
Just focusing on myself, trying to get better every day. And obviously I've played games before for this team and I know what I can do. So regardless of how my situation looks, I always know what I can do. Like these guys on the team, they're my friends. Some of them, I consider them like brothers. So it's not too hard to stay like a good teammate and be supportive during those moments. And it's just trying to think of the team as something bigger than just myself. Yeah, I mean, there's been a bunch of moments this year, especially that I've been very frustrated and very disappointed with how my situation has looked. And I feel I went many times just to my close friends, teammates like Thiago Martins, Tavon, these guys, Andres when he was here in a similar situation as me. So we kind of experienced that together, and that would help at the end of the day.
Yeah, you got to confide in teammates. It could be family. It's hard not to play. I mean, you're still a professional. You get to, whenever we come up to training, Roberto, I always say to you, it's like, man, this would be so cool to do for a living, play, but if you're a competitor, man, I mean,
you want to play, no matter how much money you're making or whatever the situation.
Of course. See, that's what people don't get. People that from outside the league and like the people that follow me and, especially from Mexico, and they think that people don't compete here. And it's insane to think that an athlete doesn't compete. And yes, we get every so often some guy who maybe doesn't always put out his all and do his best. That does happen. But for the most part, and we see this in practice, we've seen it, often, every practice we go to, how hard they compete, how hard they go at it, because of the fact that this is what they're built out of. This is their DNA, and they want to win. These people don't want to lose at anything. They don't want to lose in cards. They don't want to lose playing, dice, whatever it is. You play pool against them, they're going to try to win. And this is in their DNA. So it's not like they're going to come here and just because they have a big contract, they're just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to take it easy and not do it. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but 99% of the people that are playing in this league and they're trying their best to be able to play at their best and to win starting minutes and to play as often as they can. And when I hear people basically say, oh, it's a retirement league, everybody here is just for vacation,
I
they
don't
know
hear
what
that.
the hell they're talking about. They
I
have
don't-
absolutely no idea. This
Well,
is what
who
they're
says that?
doing in my mind. Oh, Glenn, it's all the time. You'd have to start really learning Spanish to be able to see all the stuff that's written on my page.
I don't
But
care
let me tell you
I don't care
something.
what Mexicans think of U.S.
Well,
soccer. I
they're
don't really
part. I
care.
mean, the Apple is everywhere. MLS wants to be everywhere, and there's a huge competition between the Mexican League and MLS, and so these conversations go back and forth. And what they're doing, as far as I see it, is basically transferring what they would be doing being in that situation. If somebody gave them a big contract, they would be like, oh, I don't have to make an effort anymore. I've got my money. Who cares? And that's what they're doing. But they don't understand the mentality of a player. And this gets fed through analysts on television, and they're
right.
repeating these things, and it's nuts. And it's just crazy to see, because it's a lack of respect for the effort and the talent that these athletes have.
All right. Now, who's more talented than Michael Jordan as an athlete? So we were in Chicago. We're going to get to Atlanta here in a little bit just to see what they have to offer for this game tomorrow night, which is going to be on the New York City FC Network. Roberto on the, I'll point that way, Roberto on the Spanish, myself on the English. And so I went into the gym and, did some exercise in the gym, and they had all these, it was cool. They had all these quotes from famous Chicago athletes, including this one from Michael Jordan. And I shared this with Nick Cushing and also Grant Barge, the colonel who works with the team. I missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I lost almost 300 games, 26 times. I was trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. That's the greatest coaching quote I could come up with, because so much of the conversation I have on a weekly basis with coaches, a lot of it has started to steer towards, failure leads to success. You have to fail in order to succeed. It's like taking a risk. And this has become more, and it's really up to the coach to set up that environment, because if you're afraid to make a mistake because I'm going to yank you, then you're not going to, take that risk.
Then you're going to be tight, and you're never going to be able to realize your full potential.
Yep. So it's really, and those are the best coaches.
Dome, I think it was Dome, who used to tell us that he never wanted to replace a player from the starting lineup after he had a bad game.
That was Vieira.
Remember that?
It was Vieira. I know.
Vieira? I remember Dome saying it too.
Well, he might have.
Yeah.
Patrick said it in an interview, because I can't remember the defender. I just can't remember the defender who lost a mark on a set piece against Montreal. What was his name? Oduro from Montreal.
Oduro, the forward for Montreal. Yeah.
Yeah, he scored. It was a late goal, and I think it tied the game at 1. And it was just and one of the defenders just lost his mark, and he hadn't played well either. And I'm losing the defender's name, but that's okay. Maybe keeping him anonymous will save any sort of insult here. But I said, Patrick, isn't it time to? I think I said this publicly on the pregame show. Isn't it time to maybe get somebody new in there? And that's when he said, I don't like taking people out after they make a big mistake, because then their thinking is, I've lost complete confidence in you. So boom, you want them to, but he said, if they have another bad one, then maybe the next time they're out. But I would never do it right after a nasty mistake. Yeah, it's pretty good. I like that.
If you have a good player, you have a good player, or a player who you're trying to show confidence in. If they make a mistake, you leave them in. Now, if they make several mistakes, then it's costing you. Then obviously you've got to make a change. But I fully get that, because you're trying. It's the psychology of sports. Something that maybe in the 60s and 70s wasn't as prevalent as it is now. You made a mistake like that, and they not only put you out of the game, they berate you publicly, and they feel that is the way to get you to perform better. And it's not. That doesn't necessarily work. It also depends on the player, and every player is different. So what might work with player A may not be the way to approach player B to be able to get the best out of them. And these are the type of things that you got to learn. So you can't treat everybody equally, which is another thing that used to be said a lot in the 60s and 70s. You got to treat everybody equally. And no, you don't. You have to know what motivates each individual. And I think that coaches have become a lot more savvy when it comes to things like that.
You have to treat everybody from a disciplinary standpoint equally, though, too. So you're absolutely right. I mean, the modern day coaching, when you go to the coaching schools, and there's so much said about getting to know each player and taking the time to do that, because of exactly what you said, that everybody's motivated in a different way. But you can't give player A, who's a DP, a free ride if they show up late to a team meeting, while, player B, who's a rookie on 60 grand or whatever it is now, you treat differently, because now you're the tough guy. So you can't do it. You got to treat everybody equal in those matches. So back to the shutout in 3 of the last 4 road games. New York City also has failed to score a goal in 7 games. There's only 2 teams that have been shut out more, and one of them, Chicago. They're at 8. So that's why I gave it, and Austin, who, the opponent prior. So it's that's why I kind of just the game was uninteresting. That's the best I can do. I'm not going to go back and watch that entire game back again. I can't do it. My time's too valuable.
And by the way, last night I was surprised, because I was channel surfing, and I stopped by Yes Network, and all of a sudden the game was on, and I'm like, hello?
Wow.
It's like all of a sudden, am I back in 2015? The only thing, there was no Ian Joy and Joe Tollison. But the game was on Yes Network. I had no idea that they're rebroadcasting New York City games. That was new to me.
I don't think they regularly are.
I don't know. I guess we're going to have to ask somebody on that. Wow. When did that start? Maybe somebody here can tell us in the comments that they've been seeing this regularly. Or they can tell us on, Twitter or whatever.
Where's artificial intelligence when you need them? Let's do a Joe Tollison, Ian Joy artificial intelligence broadcast. They could just throw that in on these Yes replays. All right, you got Atlanta coming up. So I had mentioned that they couldn't get a shot on target in Montreal, which anytime you don't get a shot on goal, and that was the case for New York City in their last game, but whenever we go to Atlanta now, the first thing you think of is Gudmundur Thor-Aronson. I mean, there's no way you don't think of that. And where we're located, our broadcast booths for this game, it's kind of over in that corner, and it's like it happened right in front of us, Roberto. And New York City's fared well at the Mercedes-Benz. It's never been an intimidating spot necessarily, although they'll get over 40,000 on a Wednesday night at this game.
But although there's a couple of things going on, right? With the team playing as poorly as they have, and they're playing poorly. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Right. They've lost 4 games in a row coming into this game, 3 in MLS, and then 1 they lost to Indy 11 in the U.S. Open Cup, and they lost that at home. Not at Mercedes-Benz, but
exactly,
at their U.S. Open Cup venue, wherever that is, and they lost that. So they're not playing very well. Now at home, you know,
They played at
they've been a little bit better.
They played at Kennesaw University, just to make
Okay,
it.
thank
All
you.
right. Yep.
That's good. Well, you should know because
Yeah.
you're an Atlanta boy for at least your college days.
No,
So,
Athens.
well, actually, you
Athens,
weren't in
please.
Atlanta. You were in
Athens.
in
Athens.
Athens, Georgia.
Athens,
All
Georgia,
right.
baby. Yep.
Uh-huh.
REM.
Famous for the B-52s, by the way, not for Glenn Crooks.
B-52s and REM. That's a pretty good.
That's not bad.
That's a pretty good cadre of musicians, man.
Yeah, yes, it is. But I mean, so they're playing poorly. They've lost their two best players in Almada and Giacomakis. Giacomakis, by the way, really crapped on the league on his way out to Cruz Azul in Mexico. So that wasn't nice.
And then he got hurt. And then he got hurt in his first game, I think, or an early game. I don't know where.
I didn't actually. I know they won 4-0 in their last game. They beat Monterrey 4-0, but I didn't look at the lineup and see if he was playing or not.
I don't know.
I just know that they went to Monterrey and they beat Monterrey.
He hurt his ankle, I think, in his first game. I think in his first game he hurt his ankle. So maybe fair play after trashing MLS on the way out the door. Yeah, and then Thiago Almada. I mean, come on. I mean, that he's a special player. Here's one thing I would say: in the first game, the 1-1 draw at Citi Field, New York City did really well against Almada. I mean, the way they limited his opportunities, and which they didn't do against Carlos Gil in New England, and that was a bone of contention, for Nick Cushing after that game. That we did such a poor job on Heel. So it's the same kind of player that you have to be aware of. And but now it's Muyumba in midfield, good player. Schliege in midfield, good player. Who's up top? Rios, okay player.
Daniel Rios has done okay. What has he got? He's been involved in 6 of Atlanta's last 9 goals.
Okay,
so he's a guy you got to watch out for more than anybody else.
And then Tiare is the guy who scored the goal at Citi Field to make it 1-1 against New York City when Giacomakis, I think, was out of that game injured at that time. And so Tiare played pretty well. He was pretty dangerous at times. So, but Lob Janitze is their best player in my estimation. He'll be on the wing, and he's got a great story because he played for Georgia Republic and qualifying for the Euros for the first time ever. And who did they upset along the way? France? No, they had a big upset, and I'm not remembering off the top of my head. But I'll have it in my notes for tomorrow. So if you listen to the broadcast, I'll have it for you. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know that they did have like one really big game, so it was great. So I'm looking back at the stats of that game, of the New York City Atlanta game at Citi Field. New York City had 24 shots in that game. Atlanta had 18. So, and then of those shots, of 24 shots, New York City had 3 on target.
There you go.
That's the problem.
You had volume,
but they hit the post twice. They hit the post twice. They had 17 shots inside the box, and they had 7 block shots. So the Atlanta defense did a job of blocking shots in front of their goalkeeper, who was Guzan in that game. And they had a defense of Lennon, Cobb, Williams, and Wiley. Wiley isn't here because Wiley is off with the U.S. Olympic team. So he's not here. And meanwhile, now they have a new formation. They're not playing a 4-2-3-1 anymore. They're playing 3 in the back. So it's going to be a different thing with Rob Valentino.
Yep, it's a 3-4-3, and the goal they gave up against Montreal, and I brought this up on the pregame show. It's a must listen, guys. NYCFC.com/rate. What is it? And NewYorkCityFC.com/radio to get to the New York City FC network, and 7:15 tomorrow. And I spend, I think this one's about 12 minutes long with Nick, and I think we talk about a lot of good stuff, and one of it is this 3 in the back and where they could exploit it. I tell you where they could exploit it, Roberto. So don't be surprised if you see Alonso Martinez. We don't know he's starting, but don't be surprised if he just drifts to the back post and can nod one in, or Santi Rodriguez figures out where he can get in, because the weak side defensively, the opposite side of the crosses, there's a lot of room there at times, because Atlanta's got some wingers that don't particularly care to defend either at times. So that's a place to look.
Hannes Wolf better be accurate with those crosses then. And speaking of Alonso Martinez, I have him on my pregame show.
Awesome.
So
What did he
have a
say?
nice conversation.
Can you give us a little paraphrasing of what he might have said
No,
to you? Okay.
no,
Didn't you just talk to him?
yes,
Okay, never mind.
no.
I have those issues. I have those issues too sometimes.
I
I
have to
just
listen back to it.
I just got this. I went on FOTMob to try to just look back at this game again, and I got this like glaring. I don't know if something's wrong with my computer. This red thing, like, oh, you're on a bad website or something. So, but I went back up. It
Oh,
looks like it's okay. I never know what. I don't answer
great.
one. I don't answer one email or text if I don't, or Facebook message, or I don't answer
Yeah,
anything
you should
anymore,
never.
Roberto.
You should. Well, as long as you don't click, on the links, just leave the links alone, and and you'll be fine.
All right, Sean
That goes
Johnson.
for everybody.
Sean Johnson, former New York. Well, remember, Atlanta and I lost to CF Montreal. We went over that. Montreal 7 straight unbeaten at home, and their 11th sellout this year at Stade Saputos. It's pretty good because they haven't been particularly consistent or good at times. But kudos to the Montreal fans for hanging in there. Sean Johnson is playing in Canada, as we know, for Toronto. And Sean became the 4th goalkeeper in MLS history to record 150 regular season wins.
Awesome for Sean.
Yeah, good for. And 83 of those came with the New York City Football Club between 2017 and 2022. Sean Johnson, as far as I know, has not sent Strahinja Tanasiewicz a dinner invitation following the tussle after the New York City's 3-2 win in Toronto. And
Hey, guess who was that the one in Toronto?
Yes,
Okay,
the referee.
Our referee is Lucas Spala. We got him. Who, by the way, is going to be in the All-Star game. He's going to be the 4th official on the All-Star game. Lucas Spala.
Oh, the All-Star game I'm not going to watch? Okay, good. All right, nice.
No, you can watch it or not, but so yeah. By the
it.
way, I've got some. So there's some good news with having Lucas Spala being the referee for New York City.
And be
Because
clear,
New
Roberto.
York's record,
Just be clear before you start, because you're the one who pointed this out to the group in the group chat. He was the guy in charge of what would turn out to be a pretty diabolically refereed game. and ultimately resulted in, partly at least resulted in this melee at the end where all these players, Tanasiewicz got suspended, but mostly it was Toronto players who showed their dislike.
The refereeing was weird in that game, but the fact that New York City won that game is what set Toronto off, and then they went and they were nuts. And I'm not going to blame Spala for that. I'm totally blaming Toronto for that. You got to know how to win. You got to know how to lose, and they for sure didn't know how to lose. They had a chip on their shoulder based on what happened with the previous game, and then they came out. And before the game, everything was fine and sunny and all is great. And then they lost and they lost their head. But so the last time Spala did a New York City game was that crazy ending at Citi Field.
And I would just like to say, and it's been put to bed, obviously, but the John Herdman postgame comments regarding Nick Cushing punching his player in the face, I guess that's just been, we're just not going to talk about it anymore. And I will be forever incensed by it. I've lost a lot of respect for Herdman. And I'm looking forward to the next New York City Toronto FC game. I hope they meet in the playoffs. I think, it'll be, we thought some of those Copa America games were fierce. That one will be a pretty good one, Roberto.
There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of bad blood and animosity between both these teams. Now, when they say, who are the rivals for New York City, right? Red Bulls is obviously number one. Toronto's up there.
Oh, yeah.
Toronto's absolutely up there. Philly's there. And I still think Orlando, which is our next game after this. So anyway, the point I was trying to make is that New York City's record with Lucas Spala is 2-0, and Atlanta's record with Spala is 1 win, 1 tie, and 2 losses.
Yippee! It doesn't mean a thing, but I appreciate that, and I appreciate you sending me that for my preparation every week. But at times, and I'll point out, I think this time it's meaningless.
Now,
Right.
if New York City had him 6 times and he was 6-0 and he had called 7 penalties against the New York City's opponents and none for New York City, now we've got something to talk about, Roberto. Now we've
I
got
got
something
one
to talk
more
about.
stat for you on Spalla. I have
Okay.
one more.
All right.
Keep this in mind.
Yeah.
Lucas Spalla has shown 9 red cards this year. Of the 19 he's shown in 69 games, this is his 70th game. He in 13 games this year, he's got 9 red cards. He's number 1 in MLS.
Well, now you're cooking, man. Now you're giving us something. Now you got a good one.
So be nice.
I will be nice.
Might get red carded. And
Yeah,
then poor
imagine if he throws one up at the booth.
exactly.
Just looks right up.
And then Maddie is gotta do play-by-play. And look, we met Lucas Spalla in Orlando last year because he was the 4th referee, and he's quite a nice guy, very, very nice. And I still am in touch with him every so often. So when I have some refereeing doubts, and I'll send him a text, and he'll clear it up for me. So it was very nice. I got one that was cleared up on encroachment in the box on a penalty kick, something that I didn't realize that the rule had changed, and he cleared it up on me. So there was an encroachment. I think it was it the Euro? I think it was either Euros or the beginning of Copa America. And there was a play where it was a clear encroachment from the left side, but the goal scored. And I was wondering, I said, why didn't they retake that free kick? But the rule has been changed, and now it's sort of like encroachment's okay if you're not involved in the play. So if your encroachment gives you an advantage, then the kick gets repeated. But if it doesn't give you an advantage, then they leave it alone.
That's a good rule change. I like that rule change. And I also
so he explained that to me, and I did not know that rule change had happened. So
for the record, those that are watching this, my background is so much superior to Roberto's. Look at this. I've got art. We're in the same hotel. What is behind you? Is that your bed?
It's my bed.
Okay.
And the reason is that I had to do this is because it's the only place where I could find some sort of light, because my portable light broke on the last, while I was in Miami last week.
Well, but I'm well lit today, so I'm not lit. I'm not lit.
Say that you're lit, but that's
I am not
story.
lit. I'm not lit. I'm well lit.
It has nothing to do with lighting.
All right, let's kick it around, shall we?
Very.
New York City FC 2, Roberto, has a new home. Not a permanent home, but I know you know this. Randall's Island is just, to me, that's a soccer haven because of all the different things that have happened historically there. Cosmos, Pele, the whole thing.
Pele's debut.
And so at that park, which is more noted now as a track and field establishment, is New York City has contributed, the club has contributed $3 million to the refurbishment of that stadium, still preserving the track, but also, and they had to move some of the pits, like the high jump and the different things like that. But in order to make a regulation size grass soccer field for New York City FC 2, who will also play, there it is. So that's what
fantastic.
It'll be more. It'll be a larger pitch once they get through with it, but they're not giving up Belson Stadium. Apparently, they haven't specified how many games they'll play at each, but they're still going to play some of their games at Belson and some of their games here. And I would think maybe the only reason that would be is because there's other events scheduled at is it Icon? How's the stadium pronounced?
Icon Stadium.
Icon. Okay.
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Carl Icahn was either the founder or the owner of TWA. Ooh. That's where his fame came from, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know.
He loved track and field. And it was funny because when they built the stadium, it was specifically built in a way so they wouldn't have soccer and they wouldn't have other events like that. And so now that New York City is contributing money to it and they're going to redo it, well, I think that it's great. You know what I'm looking forward to? I'm hoping that that New York City gets to play their U.S. Open Cup games. Hopefully, the first team is back in the U.S. Open Cup next year, as they should be, and that they play their games there. It holds over 5,000 people. St. John's only holds 2,000. So I would think that if they can do that, that would be absolutely fantastic. Until they get their own stadium built, and then we already know, because we've been told, that all U.S. Open Cup games are going to be played at Sporting, what is it? Sponsor name stadium, whatever it is.
In the 1980s, Carl Icahn, this is Wikipedia, developed a reputation as a corporate raider after profiting from the hostile takeover of asset stripping of Trans World Airlines, TWA. So he is attached to TWA, but in
not in the best way,
in a financially obnoxious way, apparently.
Yes, that's not good. We hate when they do stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Red Lobster, by the way. Red Lobster didn't get into trouble because they were giving away endless shrimp. They got into trouble because they were taken over by a hedge fund that sold the land under every one of the restaurants and forced them to pay rent. And then that made the restaurants lose money and they couldn't hold on anymore. But they were able to strip all the assets.
In 2016, Icahn also closed the Trump Taj Mahal Casino in Atlantic City.
Yes.
I have to admit, I've been in there, or had been, citing a $350 million loss over several years, as well as a failure to reach a deal with striking union workers. 3,000 people lost their jobs. Well, we're getting off of Carl Icahn because he is just, I don't know.
But by the way, I mean, how do you fail at a casino?
Poor management. Poor management. Hey, we only have 3 minutes, Roberto.
Yeah.
I know we haven't done much with the Euros or Copa America. Maybe we could save that for another day. And I know we have a lot to say about Copa America because it's not just on the field, but the off the field. But we don't have time to get into that. But I'll let you choose your next U.S. men's national team coach because he's reportedly been contacted by U.S. Soccer. Go.
And if they wind up getting Mauricio Pochettino, I'm thrilled. I mean, I really am thrilled because I think that he would be a fantastic candidate for the job. I remember the job that he did with Spurs, and I wish that they never fired him from Spurs or whatever wound up transpiring there, and he wound up leaving. It took Spurs quite a few coaches to get it right again. I think he's a fantastic coach, and I think that he would be able to get the best out of everybody on the U.S. national team. And I think the U.S. national team would actually wind up looking a little bit different than it does right now. But I'm for it. Let's go. Get him. Sign him now. My
vote is for Wilfred Nancy, and I'm just going to leave it at that. So we've got 7:15 p.m. our airtime for our live commentary on Spanish and English on the New York City FC network, NewYorkCityFC.com/radio, the New York City FC app, and the TuneIn app. So you can get it on all those different devices. At 6 p.m., Roberto and Ariel will have their NYCFC preview live, which we think you got to follow us on Twitter, and we're going to tell you how you're going to be able to watch that because it's not going to be the normal process.
No,
and then
I'll
be on with Maddie at 6:45 doing the English version of that. But we'll get out the news.
Follow my Facebook page. It'll definitely be on there. It'll definitely be on Facebook.
We'll put it out there.
Instagram. It's going to be on my Instagram as well. 100% is going to be there. And maybe what I'm going to have to do, and we'll try it out tomorrow, is that I'll try to link my YouTube page. But I mean, like, nobody knows I have a YouTube page. Trust me, I never do anything with it.
Okay, quickly. Mine's going to be on my YouTube page, my own Facebook page, and the New York City FC Facebook page. So we'll leave it at that because we're going to inform everybody tomorrow. Keep in mind, no Tavon Gray, no Kevin O'Toole, no Andres Pereira, no James Sands, and we know no Malachi Jones. So some pretty key absences for New York City tomorrow when they play Atlanta United. Over 40,000 will be at Mercedes-Benz. Exciting atmosphere. We will paint the picture for you on the network. So please tune in. So happy that you joined us today, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.